Sova is a really unique agent because there's no other champion in Valorant that's so absolutely fucking garbage and yet so absolutely OP at the same time. He's made out to be a hunter kind of character, but most of the time it's your ass getting hunted down because the 10-12 Reyna didn't care about the fact that you revealed 3 enemies and B and just went there with a fucking Spectre like a madman, because why the fuck not? He's extremely hard to play effectively, especially in solo queue where the communication with your teammates is 90% them screaming at you to shut the fuck up and 10% writing dick in chat in all capitals, and Sova is incel focused, so communication is probably the most important thing in his gameplay. His entire kit pretty much requires you to already know how to play it, so learning Sova is, to say the least, not the greatest experience. But I spent enough time talking shit about abilities and I didn't even describe them yet, so let's get to that. His signature is the Recon Bolt. After pressing E, Sova takes out his bow and prepares a tracking arrow. You hold down left click to charge up the arrow, and obviously the longer you charge, the bigger its range is going to be. When said arrow hits a wall, floor or ceiling, it activates, sending out 3 tracking signals. Each of the signals reveals enemies that it passes through in a huge, and I mean like half the fucking map huge radius, unless the enemy is hiding behind a wall or a fucking box, whatever. The twist is, once equipped, you can also press right mouse button to activate bouncing technology. The arrow can bounce off of up to 2 surfaces before it actually expands, but, and this also applies to his Q, which we will talk about later, in order to know where the arrow is going to go after 2 bounces, you have to be literally fucking gigamind. The amount of brain power required to calculate the arrow's trajectory is not that of a simpleton, let me tell you, because it defies the rules of fucking physics as you know them. It has a 35-second cooldown, so you'll end up using it about twice per round, unless you die, which happens around once per round. Sova's Q is Shock Dart. Much like Sova's E, the Shock Dart also equips a bow when activated and has the same properties as the Recon Bolt. And by that I mean you can charge it as much and it can bounce off walls. But unlike the Recon Bolt, it fucking sucks. Once it hits an obstacle and activates, it sends out an electric shock in a spherical radius which deals 14 to 90 damage depending on how close to the center of the explosion the enemy player is located. I don't really know what that ability is supposed to be because it's definitely not an area blocker, it lasts for like a second, and if it's a cover denial like Breach's Aftershock, it's a really fucking garbage one as it doesn't deal enough damage to someone even with no armor and it doesn't signal you if you hit someone or not. A camper can take a hit and be completely fine and you still won't know that he's there. The only thing I can think of is a damage dealer, in which case it's also garbage because it deals like 50 damage in general. It gives you an advantage in gunfights though, which is nice. The only scenario in which the shock dart is extremely useful is when you know that there's a low health enemy hiding somewhere, so you can shoot at popular campsites and hopefully you'll kill them by some lucky occurrence, and you can carry 2 of those, so that's pretty okay. Sova C is a fucking amazing drone. It's a fucking drone. It's a drone. You equip it with C, deploy it with left mouse button, and you can fly the drone for 10 seconds. It also has a tracking dart on board that you can shoot people with, and it makes the target visible through walls, but unlike Cypher's tracking dart, it only shows them exactly 3 times. It's okay, but it's also the biggest argument why Sova sucks in solo queue. See, if you see 2 people with the drone but only mark 1, your allies think there's 1 enemy unless you ping it, which requires opening the map, and opening the map makes you vulnerable as if standing around with your eyes on the drone wasn't doing enough of that. They can also look at the minimap too, but let's be fucking honest here, how often do you look at the minimap in Valorant? I've checked, it was like twice. Doing 7 different games, so you know. And finally, Sova's ult is called Hunter's Fury. It costs 7 ult points and lasts for 6.5 seconds, during which you can shoot 3 big fucking lasers out of your bow, don't know how that works, that go through walls, deal 80 damage and mark enemies hit. Its range is absolutely huge, but yet again the damage is relatively low, so you have to hit a full health enemy at least twice, even if they have no armor. However, it does deal the same damage no matter where it hits, so you can hit them in the foot and they'll still die if their health is low enough. Realistic. It works well with the Recon Bolt, and when someone's planting the spike when you're playing defense, well, they're not gonna have a good time if you know where they are. Wink. It's an okay ult, but it's just so fucking hard to hit. Actually killing someone with it is enough to give you a fucking adrenaline ball or something. How do you play Sova though? You don't. You just don't. The amount of communication required for Sova's kit to be useful is far more than this game's player base is capable of, so I don't touch him unless you 1. Know exactly how Sova works, and 2. Have a team you're in a voice call with. But if you do end up playing Sova, well, he's labeled as an initiator, but he's more of an aggressive sentinel in my opinion, as stupid as that sounds. You have to play defensively, carefully, and stick close to your teammates because literally all of Sova's abilities give away your general location to the enemies, making you vulnerable. You also don't have any area control or vision blockers, you're forced to rely on your aim more often, and relying on your aim instead of tactics is the way monkeys play this game. And yes, I know that Sova's really good in high elo, but if you were a high elo player you wouldn't be watching this fucking champion introduction video now, would ya? Once you have the required communication nailed down, Sova is a really good intel provider, second only to Cypher, and you can really do a lot for your team if you're good enough. And he's like, he has a bow, so he's like Hanzo from Overwatch. Subscribe.